from Nashville, Tennessee. It's the Three. And here's your host, Laura Harris-Smith.
Hi everybody, I'm Laura Harris-Smith and welcome to The Three. I have a very special guest today. We have a lot of special guests, but you're going to understand why in a moment. This one is extra special. He is what we call a veteran nonprofit executive. His work spans 30 years of bringing Christians and Jews together. He's written hundreds of articles. He is also president of Genesis 1-2-3 Foundation?
Yes.
Foundation, all right. Welcome from Israel, Jonathan Feldstein. How are you doing?
I'm great. It's so wonderful to be with you, Laura.
It's wonderful to sit with you. We've had several visits so far. We were just trying to recount when and where,
right.
Some, different locales, but I think we've known each other about 5 years now. And I'm very fascinated by your work. You've written hundreds of articles, but before we get into one particularly, which is why I invited you here, tell us about your work and what you call the phenomena of the relationship between Jews and Christians.
Well, it's amazing because it's really only in our lifetime that we've seen the repairing of a huge breach between Jews and Christians with the birth of the State of Israel.
Right.
And Christians see that and understand that, this is the prophetic fulfillment of so much, and we just been waiting for this for a couple of thousand years. And so I've had the privilege of being called and put into this place to build bridges between Jews and Christians, and that's the mission of the Genesis 1-2-3 Foundation, really just to do that.
Tell us all about Genesis 1-2-3. Run for Zion.
Run for Zion.
Tell us everything.
I always say that our mission is to build bridges between Jews and Christians with Israel in ways that are new and unique and meaningful. So I don't want to be the next Orthodox Jew teaching Torah to Christians. And I don't want to be repeating things. And the thing that I most don't want to do is objectify Christians as a faith-based ATM just trying to get money out. We need to really build sincere relationships.
Sure.
So Run for Zion, which we've spoken about in the past, was our first program to create a really unique, meaningful engagement with Christians centered around the Jerusalem Marathon. No one had ever done it before. And I met with the mayor of Jerusalem 4 or 5 years ago, said to him, listen, if you're a Christian and if you're a runner, this is the most significant place that you'll ever run.
Right.
So he got it. He loved the model, the whole program, the subsidies that we were offering. And that was going great until the pandemic.
I was going to say, and then everything changed.
Well, pulled
but I'd
out
love
from
to
under
see
us.
how you acclimated. You just dropped back and punted, and you did this big virtual. To explain it to
We've
me.
gone virtual in a lot of things. We created a virtual, what do we call it, the Global Prayer for Israel and Virtual Pilgrimage, which is a 13-hour non-stop live event that started with prayers from Christians in China in Chinese, going all the way through Alaska and Hawaii in several languages. And that was one of the coolest things that I've ever done. We jumped in and began a webinar series called Inspiration from Zion, thinking, this pandemic, we'll get over it, but we need to connect people in the interim. The interim took a little bit longer than we planned, and Inspiration from Zion webinar spun off to me being the only Orthodox Jewish host of a podcast on the Charisma Podcast Network with a weekly show relating to Israel that is going phenomenally well, also called Inspiration from Zion, and all kinds of other virtual things. And now we're back. This is my first trip back to the States in 2 years. Run for Zion is coming back live. We're going to get you and Chris to come to Israel finally.
I saw a meme the other day that said, I bought a dog and named it A5K, so I could say I walk a 5K every day. Okay, I don't want to get too far away from this. You just mentioned the word pilgrimage, and you also talked about charisma.
Yes.
A couple of weeks ago, I read an article, and it's all about what's happening in Ukraine and putting a different spin on it and saying, all right, yes, this is bad. I'm going to do blanket statement here. Yes, it's bad. Yes, it's awful. Yes, it's sad. Yes, we, seem to have a common enemy. We know how to pray. We see the people suffering. But step back and look at the big picture, all of this unrest, and what you said in the article, it is making Jews make Aliyah. They are going home. Now, you mentioned Israel becoming a state. So in 1948, when that happened, there were only 600,000 Jews living in Israel, and now 50% of all Jews are there, is what I've heard. There's the population, 50% of all Jews now are there. So the reason this is important, as Christians, we believe, let me just back up and say, you look at Deuteronomy 30, you look at the promise that Moses made, standing there with the Israelites, that they will be gathered back, to their land. Of course, they're standing with the promised land, but he makes these promises, and there are so many prophecies as Christians that cannot take place for the end times without the ingathering of Israel. And you see it all through Scripture. This is not new news to you, but I'm just telling this is something you need to be interested in, because these things cannot take place at the end of times without the Jews making Aliyah and going back home. And you see it all through Scripture. My goodness, Isaiah, Jeremiah, Ezekiel, Joel, Amos, Micah, Zephaniah, Zechariah. God has one voice. It cannot be stopped. The Jews are coming home.
Correct. And you see it in my personal life.
Yeah.
I made Aliyah 17 and a half years ago, but my father was born in Israel to parents who immigrated from Poland
I
in
didn't
the
know
30s.
that part.
Yeah, so we came back full circle and replanted our roots there. It's been amazing. So yeah, thank God people are coming back, and Ukraine is in the news, but it's from all over. We've been involved with Genesis 123 in helping bring Ethiopian Jews home and Jews from India. We're talking about the most remote places that we've been dispersed to.
Right. I mean, I hate to minimize. I don't mean to minimize it, but there's like a honing pigeon, anointing inside of you, and they're going up. So you were actually educated here.
Yeah.
And when we come back from the break, I want to talk about, I think 5 of your children were, we have that in common. We have 6 children.
Right.
And so 5 here, and you had one that was native in Israel.
Correct.
Okay. Well, when we come back from the break, we're going to talk a little bit more about that, and with Jonathan Feldstein about just so many other things that he does. But we're going to bring back a very special guest. You've seen him on The3. He's my favorite guy. He's my favorite pastor. He's my best friend. He's my husband. Now you're going to want to catch this segment and what these two have in common. Be right back. Hi, I'm Laura Harris-Smith, inventor of Quiet Brain Essential Oil Blend. If you would have told me 2 years ago when I was mixing that very first little bottle that we would have thousands of customers from all over the world, and that we'd have to quadruple our staff to keep up with the demand produced by our international TV infomercial, I'm not sure I would have believed you. And if you told me I'd be hearing regular testimonies of improved sleep, reduced stress, migraine relief, even help with other neurological challenges like seizures, PTSD, tremors, muscle spasms, even anxiety, well, I probably would have cried. And sometimes, when I'm reading a Quiet Brain testimony, I do. But if you would have told me 1 year ago when we introduced our Quiet Brain Variety Gift Box that it would become the biggest selling item on our online store at quietbrainoil.com, I would have said, I believe it. The reason is because I created the gift box to be the perfect combination of all of our Quiet Brain products. The oil itself for topical use on the skin that contains only certified pure oils that can cross the blood-brain barrier and bring speedy relief and neurological support. And our aromatherapy line with our Quiet Brain shampoo and conditioner, candles, inhalers, all of which use the nasal passages to gain direct access to the limbic brain, which is the emotional center of the brain. So whether you need to use Quiet Brain topically or aromatherapeutically, the Quiet Brain gift box has everything that you need. And now we've given our gift box an upgrade without increasing the price. It now comes with our satin Quiet Brain Sleep Eye Mask. Just put a few drops of oil on the nose guard and you're on your way to enjoying a good night's sleep. And it all comes packaged in a beautiful gift box and delivered to the destination of your choice or sent to you so you can use it for 7 different gifts or keep a few for yourself. When sold separately, the items in the box are $160, but you're getting it for $135. That's a $25 savings.
meaning that you're getting the nasal inhaler and the shampoo and conditioner for free. The Quiet Brain gift box comes with one Whisper Quiet Nightlight diffuser with 16 color options and intermittent mist options, one dropper bottle of Quiet Brain, one Quiet Brain nasal inhaler, one Quiet Brain candle, the satin sleep eye mask, and your healing shampoo and conditioner. And remember, both are color safe, aloe enriched, paraben and sulfate free, loaded with wonderful ingredients like unscented coconut oil, olive oil, sugar beet betaine, and of course the Quiet Brain blend with its 8 essential oils like lavender, frankincense, myrrh, sandalwood, and more. We get repeated testimonies of both being used with great effectiveness during headaches for pain relief. So go to quietbrainoil.com to order. Quiet Brain is a great gift for any time of the year, but especially for seasons like these that bring additional stress. Give the gift of health and peace this year. Give the gift of Quiet Brain.
Hi everybody, I'm Laura. You're watching The Three. Welcome back. I'm going to reintroduce you to my favorite show guest ever, Pastor Chris Smith, my husband of 38 years. And you're wondering, so why did we bring him in for this episode? Well, Jonathan and Chris have gotten connected in a special way this year. Now, Chris and I, it was probably 20, I don't know how many years ago, that we really began to see in the scriptures that, you know, I had a little poem I used to say, roses are reddish, violets are bluish, thanks to Jesus, we all can be Jewish, you know. And so, but we began to look at our Christian faith through that lens, and we began practicing all of the feasts. We had all of our sons bar mitzvahed, all of our daughters were bat mitzvahed, and our neighbors were confused. We suddenly had a menorah by our Christmas tree and, you know, all of this. And so we would just explain it to people. It has deepened our faith. Mm-hmm. You know, because as Christians, we're just the branch, and we have a root. And I love Romans 11 that says that we are grafted into this. And so I had met Jonathan, as I established, about 5 years ago. And then Chris comes into the picture, and then we're at another NRB in 2018, and that's the National Religious Broadcasters Association and Convention, and introduced the two of them. And now this year, they've struck up a relationship. Now, Chris, you had an interesting request of Jonathan, and I want you to tell us what that is. It's only something that lives in Israel could accomplish for you, right? We just went right to the source and shamelessly begged. Yeah. Tell everybody what it was.
Yeah, well, I had in my heart for a number of years that I wanted to get some stones from the Elah Valley in Israel for my children.
And why is that?
Just as a kind of a prophetic.
Well, what happened there?
Well, of course, what happened there was the David and Goliath story from the Old Testament. Yes. And you know, for me growing up, that was a story that really inspired my faith in God. Mm-hmm. And I just always had it in my heart because I haven't been to Israel yet. Believe it or not,
it's shocking.
I cannot believe that.
We've tried so many times to get there.
It would be that was one thing I wanted to do when I got there. And we have been, every time we've tried to plan a trip there, we've gotten delayed. So this year for Christmas, I wanted to give my kids this gift. So I thought, who do I know? And immediately, Jonathan popped in. So I reached out to you, and I said, could you do me a strange favor?
Yeah.
Can you send me some rocks?
And you were so gracious and excited.
I was very excited. It's
genuinely
really cool.
excited. And I got real excited when I heard you get excited. And so we started this little venture together, and he went and got some stones and sent them in the mail. I think the first batch didn't make it.
That's right.
I can't remember. Did it arrive empty?
Well,
had customs taken it and taken
No, I think the envelope ripped.
The envelope ripped
because they're jagged.
Somebody has our rocks. Who got these rocks?
Some postal service worker.
Yeah.
Watch out.
Why is somebody mailing rocks?
Yeah. So that started some conversation between us, and you
it's
can
amazing.
Take
the Elah Valley is about half an hour from my house.
Wow.
And because of the pandemic, I wasn't really getting out a lot, working at home, and no reason to go a lot of places.
Collecting rocks a lot.
I was not collecting rocks. My wife hates when I collect stuff. I didn't tell her that I was bringing rocks home from. No, I would never. We're married
goodness.
30 years. We would never have gotten no. But it was actually, I was just saying before we started filming now that this week my son is finishing his Army service.
Right.
And his base, where I had to drive him back and forth, was the Elah Valley is about 50% of the way there. So one day he came home, I had to drive him back to his base on Sunday, and that gave me the opportunity to stop and go rock collecting. But it was fascinating because I remember you asked me specifically for smooth stones, which, I mean, they're not really, they're a little bit jagged. But when I went home and I collected a bag full, it was really fascinating because when you read the Hebrew, I don't remember, I can't quote you the verse, it doesn't say anything about smooth stones, but it says it was stones from the water, and there's no more water there.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So after 2,000 years, it's intuitive that maybe someone used up the smooth stones,
Maybe.
and now we're just left with the jagged ones.
Oh, no. My children are convinced that one of them got the rock.
I
It's
love that comment.
And so what happened was they are all sitting in a circle.
Yeah.
We're having Christmas and ready, all the gifts are opened and everything's cleared. And Dad says, "Okay, I have a very unique gift." So he passes out these rocks. And he's one by one. And our children have always heard that. 5 smooth stones, right? He's passing them out in no order. But Jude gets the smooth one. And all of a sudden he goes, "Oh, look at this, property of David, son of Jesse."
Right. That's great.
He's so excited. But one of the things that I remember, and I love it how now you two talk more than, I don't love it, but I love that you have connected, even more than we have. But you told me that he said something to you like, I'm fascinated. Why are you so interested in this? So I'm curious why you were curious, or why you think as Christians that would be not be interesting to us.
Well, I mean, it's cool and it's novel, and people do collect rocks and dirt and stones from Israel and bring them home. But it was the first time anyone ever asked me to do that. It's probably the last time as well.
Maybe not.
Maybe not.
It's your
Maybe
email
not.
address. You have a new business.
KingDavidStones.com.
Goliath Rocks 123. He's now the founder.
There we go. There we go. But it's always fascinating to me in the context of building bridges between Jews and Christians. A stone can mean something real different to you, and you explained it so beautifully. I mean, I got emotional when you were telling me about what it meant. And it's not like it means anything that's different because it's the same Bible.
No, that's right.
And they're the same characters, and David slew the same guy, and it happened half an hour from my house.
Yeah.
But it was just neat to hear that because no one's ever said to me.
Yeah, the commonality between Christians and Jews, is faith in God.
Correct.
And so that's when we were talking about that. To me, it's a story of faith.
Yeah. Now, if you had asked me to go to the Sea of Galilee and get you some water and send it, that would have been different for you, right?
Yeah.
For me, the Sea of Galilee is important because it's the source of fresh water. For you, and I understand this historically, that's where Jesus walked. That's where the sea was calmed.
Yeah.
It's actually, I have actually a very cool stone. That's another story for another episode.
So you have collected rocks.
No,
Now it comes out.
I purchased a piece of stone on which I had printed the image of the Temple Mount, and I gave it as a gift to Franklin Graham because he came to faith looking at Jerusalem from the Mount of Olives, and I put that on a stone that was a piece of basalt that was above the ground 2,000 years ago. When I presented it to him, I said, if this stone had ears, it might have heard Jesus preaching. If it had eyes, it would have seen him. And if Jesus was hot on a summer Galilee day, this might have been his park bench.
Well, and he also said, if these people do not praise me, even the rocks will cry out.
Okay, there you go.
So, I don't know if I've ever told you this story or not. It's brief. I was at a conference one time, and there were a lot of prophetic types there, and people were exchanging and just encouraging one another and praying over one another. And this stranger walks up to me, and he says, "I have a word for you." And I said, "Okay, I'm open. If you're here, I trust you. Okay." And he goes to pray for me, and he steps back and he said, "God wants to tell you Himself on the Sea of Galilee." And I I've been trying to get there this is 20 years ago. You know, we've even tried to come up with you.
I know.
Every time we try, something bizarre happens. So can you find me a boat when we get there? I have to go there first.
Oh, yeah.
I can't eat.
Fine.
I can't sleep. I have to go to the Sea of Galilee first. All right, everybody, when we come right back after the break, we're going to talk more with this guy. I got to introduce him first. My husband, Pastor Chris Smith, and of course, Jonathan Feldstein. Stay close.
Aromatics Oil is a family of therapeutic-grade patented oil blends created by nutritionist and author Laura Harris Smith. Invented for her own lifelong journey for neurological health, Quiet Brain now helps those worldwide who suffer from insomnia, migraines, anxiety, seizures, tremors, and more. Quiet Brain contains oils like frankincense, myrrh, lavender, sandalwood, and others. Next, Happy Brain is a bright mood-lifting citrus blend and contains oils like lemon, lime, clementine, spearmint, and more. Users say it combats depression and even aids in weight loss. Next is Sharp Brain, Laura's Focus Blend, also used to improve cognitive memory issues with oils like coffee, cinnamon, vanilla, clove, and others. Each $69.95 bottle is a 10-week supply if used daily, or about $1 a day. And right now, buy 2 bottles and get the third one free, and get a free eye mask using the promo code on your screen at neuromaticsoil.com or at 1-855-784-3827. That's 1-855-QUIET-BRAIN.
I'm naturopathic Dr. Laura Harris Smith, and if you'll give me 10 days, Give It to God and Go to Bed can help you stress less, sleep better, and dream more. There are even links inside to my free 10 Days to Deeper Sleep and Dreams program and 10 Goodnight videos.
Can you close your eyes and just still listen to me?
The whole book takes place in your bedroom, and with chapter titles like The Junk Under Your Bed, The Treasures in Your Bedroom, and The Monsters in Your Closet. Give It to God and Go to Bed helps you learn to rest and hear God speak in dreams. Take back your sleep and dreams, my friend, with Give It to God and Go to Bed.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to The Three. I'm Laura Harris Smith. I'm so thankful that you've joined us today. And I'm sitting with 2 men who are both fathers of 6 patriarchs of their family.
That's right.
It's amazing.
Congratulations for that.
Yes.
Your wives had nothing to do with it, I know. But you know, I just got to thinking about the commonality of Goliaths, facing Goliaths. That's really what those rocks meant to you. It wasn't just having something from Israel. It was the giants that we have faced, you know. So one of the things that I want you both to comment on as fathers and really, you know, as patriarchs, you have 3 generations now that you're responsible for. What is that like? What are the Goliaths in your life, if I could put you on the spot? What are the biggest challenges in terms of, you know, what you feel like you were put here to do on earth, and what are your 5 smooth stones? For you as men, and I'll start with you. What are those things?
I think the one of the greatest Goliaths is just worldly culture, and trying to raise children with a very tangible and real life faith in God. You know, and that's really what this story does for me, and that's why what I told them when I gave them the rocks. I told them, I said, all of you are giant slayers.
Yeah.
And what I meant by that was you have a real faith in God, in the way that David had, to be able to conquer giants and not be fearful. And wow, we could sit here and list all kinds of giants that are in our culture right now.
Yes.
But when you have faith in God and you commit yourself to His Word and to the reality of who He is, being Almighty God,
Right.
man, you can not only get through this crazy world, but you can inspire others.
And what do you think in doing that? What are your 5 go-to smooth stones?
Well, the first thing I do is I try to praise.
You sure do.
I try to praise, and I think David's
sure
life
do.
was a testimony of that with the Psalms.
Oh my goodness.
And
Yeah.
I would have to say, spend time in the Word and in prayer. There's 3.
I was going to say that's 2 different things. Yeah.
I think trying to operate out of a place of love and mercy is key. You know,
You
we have a
are very
tendency-
good at that.
We have a tendency to be
Yeah.
to want to defend ourselves, or to be judgmental, or to kind of hate when we see things going a way that we know they shouldn't. But I believe strongly that love is when you can be motivated out of love, whether it's in a relationship or in a circumstance. You demonstrate to people really the heart of the Father.
Okay. So, what is your fifth?
Was
Can I
that
be
my
your
5?
fifth? No. I would like to
Well, I
be
would
one of those
say-
things that
well,
you,
no, I do think
a
that
relationship.
that's-
There's usually some sort of relationship.
No, I think our marriage. I think we've
That
worked-
helps you do
I
that.
think we've made the commitment in a marriage as a husband and a wife, and as a mom and a dad.
There's strength there, yeah.
Yeah, to
Yeah.
help draw tremendous strength.
What about you?
Well, I mean, I would also have to say that about my wife and my, in terms of the stones.
Yes, the Goliath. What is your number
So-
one Goliath that you see that you face, and then the tools you feel like God's given you to conquer him?
Well, what I do day to day, I get a lot of pushback from Jews and from Christians. But we push on, we
Yes,
keep going. And,
yes.
and the other piece being, of course, that when we're both father of 6 children, but I have the distinction of having one who just served as a paratrooper in the Israeli army.
Wow.
And I mean, thank God he wasn't called into combat yet, but he served in some really uncomfortable areas. And I'm reminded and connected to King David in terms of defending us, in terms of really being literally on the front lines. We saw him in the Gaza war that took place in May of 2021. My son with his unit was camped out on the beach,
Wow.
looking for infiltration by sea as rockets were flying over her head. So despite the fact that every day living in Israel is a blessing, which I'll count as one of my stones,
Okay.
there's still challenges, and these are the
Yeah.
Goliaths. So we have to keep taking those blessings and throwing them and taking down the giants.
We have apps on our phone. It's a Red Alert app, and every time Israel is bombed, our phone, no matter where we are, makes this hideous noise that you can't ignore
Oh,
because
yeah.
you need to stop and pray. And so, thank you for coming here today, and thank you for what you do. Thank you for the bridges that you build.
Thank you, Laura.
Yeah,
Time, Chris.
and I just want to thank you for everything that you do at Genesis 123. How can they find you? How can they help support you?
Genesis123.co.
Okay.
And the easiest email to find me is the one I use for my writing, firstpersonisrael@gmail.com.
Okay. Well, we will broadcast all of that.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thanks for coming, friend.
It was a delight.
Thanks for coming, husband. And you have seen another great episode of The Three. This is what we do here. We try to bring people together and discuss the things that are important to you spiritually, emotionally, and of course, physically. Thank you for joining us, everybody. I'm Laura Harris Smith. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye for now.